ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 136 of the MTB podcast, presented and hosted by Worldwide Cyclery. I'm Jared.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Liam.
I'm Phil.
In this episode, our amazing Kiwi friend, Phil Boorman, who runs the mountain bike tour company, All Mountain Rides, is joining us on the studio for the podcast. In the studio for the podcast?
Studio, that's
I should probably read this before we just jump right into it. We're going to discuss all sorts of things, from how trails are rated and what mountain bike-related pickup lines you can use on the trails, to what sort of things you should put in your pack in case of an emergency, and everything in between.
Wow.
So
That's a lot of good stuff.
That's a lot of good stuff. Most importantly, Phil's going to give us some tips about mountain bike tours and mountain bike trips,
Sounds good.
which I'm pretty excited for.
Nice.
So, for context for the listeners, Phil's the one who put on the Italy trip that we went on last September, all three of us, which was incredible and epic. Thank you again, Phil. That was one of the better weeks of my life.
My pleasure.
Absolutely, same here.
I also went on a trip that Phil organized in New Zealand in December of 2019.
Wow.
In the heyday of humanity,
Pre-COVID.
I like to say.
The heyday of humanity.
Pre-COVID, when humanity peaked out. Man, things were good back then.
Gosh.
When the world was normal.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was one of the best mountain bike trips ever.
So cool.
Yeah, that was good times. So, well, let's just jump right into our segments for a little bit here. We gotta tap on those.
Oh, yeah.
Zach's words of wisdom.
Zach's
Go
words
ahead.
of wisdom. If you want to be happy, then stop complaining.
Did he actually say that one?
He said that one, yeah. He did. Which makes sense. You know, a lot of people are worried about external factors, complaining about this, complaining about that. Just focus on you, stay in your lane.
You do you, boo.
Everything else
He
falls
must
into
have
place.
just been frustrated with somebody's complaints.
He
when
was.
you asked him for some wisdom.
Yeah, he was.
That seems a little overly simplistic to me.
Have you met Zach?
No. Should I be saying that?
Well, you know, he gave me one that before that was a little bit less PC, and then I said, and I laughed, and then he said this, and I said, okay, that works.
Speaking of PC,
Yes.
we do try to keep our podcast PG-13, which I know is going to be maybe quite the challenge for you, Phil. So don't worry, no pressure. Be your authentic self. We just might have to bleep a couple things out. I know in New Zealand it's kind of common to speak like a sailor, so that's why I figured I would mention that.
How soon can I leave?
in an hour. Do
hour.
better than what? I mean, he'll probably be on par with Wade Simmons. I mean,
Wade Simmons. Do you know we had Wade Simmons on here?
Oh, did you?
we did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
also
Phil will
couldn't-
do better than Wade Simmons.
I think Phil will do better than Wade.
He's been in business meeting mode this week, so
That's
he's
true.
on his
I
A
have.
game.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's true. But Jeff did just pour him a stiff cocktail, so we'll see. We'll see.
It was a non-alcoholic cocktail called Spiritless.
That's a bait and switch.
Which I got. Well, hold on. A friend of mine runs a marketplace online store for all these different non-alcoholic beers, wines, and spirits, and he's got some really good ones called Better Roads, RHODES, and that's where this came from, the Spiritless one, and it's delicious. And so what I do is I pour this over ice and some strawberries, and then I put some whiskey on top of that.
So that's what he
And
did.
Are they
It is
sponsoring?
really nice.
Nice.
Like, I don't normally
It's nice,
drink,
right?
and this is...
Yeah,
it's
isn't this
tasty.
good?
It's very nice.
I mean, I think it's like meant to be just a spirit-free, like a mocktail, but I just pour the alcohol on it and use it as like a mixer.
That's easy.
So
Yeah, that's
that's
cool.
fair, right?
There you go.
I really
Allowed
like
to do
it.
that.
Are they sponsoring this podcast? This
counts.
is a really nice plug for them.
I mean, I
Yeah.
just like Chris. He's a good dude.
You
and
might need to
he
send that dude an
me
invoice.
He sent me a bunch of
Hey, man, this is supposed to be about me.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Speaking
drinking
of-
the spiritless cocktail.
Speaking of drinking cocktails and fun, Daniel's fun fact:
Yeah,
no number before 1,000 contains the letter A. Think about
No
it.
number before 1,000 contains the letter A.
Everything from 1 to 999. None of those words have an A in them.
Wow.
yeah, it's true. I confirmed it with ChatGPT 4.0, the newest and latest model from OpenAI.
Do you know, that's...
How many plugs do we? How many sponsors?
I wish I got sponsored by OpenAI.
That would be sick.
Come on.
That is something that I would find in a Kettle Mountain newsletter.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm always reading those things.
Amazing. I
I'm
make
like,
those.
there's a ton of fun facts in there.
like it?
'cause I
Jared
normally
actually
just
makes
delete
those.
newsletters like that. and
I
I'm
make
like,
them every week.
What do they got?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Hand curated content.
And curated content by J Money himself.
That's right.
Hey, Phil, why don't you read our next segment, the fantastic testimonial? Would be great to hear that in
Perfect.
a New Zealander accent.
The fantastic testimony at Worldwide Cyclery is always my go-to place for bike parts. They have great prices and super fast shipping, and they seem like really cool people. So far, so good. Oh, yeah. So, if they are actually bots, they are using amazing bots that have me completely convinced that they are actually human beings with a sense of humor who also ride bikes.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Please edit that out.
Well done.
I really hope the guy who wrote that hears this, because he's gonna be like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
Right.
Didn't think a guy from New Zealand would come to California to read my testimonial.
No.
Do you think anyone will understand it?
Yeah, it's pretty broken.
Pretty broken.
Crushed it.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You would nail acting class.
That's great. Well, should we discuss our late rides? Our rides
Bikes and rides we've been
we're
enjoying
doing
lately.
Yeah.
What have you been
that's
enjoying
right.
lately?
Yeah.
Well, today Phil and I went for a beautiful ride out in Sycamore Canyon with his buddy Mike. It was really nice. Not too hot. No snakes. That was cool.
Have you seen a snake this year?
Yeah, a few.
Have you?
Yeah. But yeah, and then also did a little century on my road bike last week. That was cool. Try and do one of those every year. Solo mesh and just,
A century.
jam out to some beats, bro.
A metric or an imperial century?
Oh, it's Imperial, excuse me.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Yeah, very nice.
What is that?
100 miles.
Gosh, I don't even know
60.
how many.
Yeah, it's like 60-ish.
60.
Miles. 100K is 60 miles.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So it was like a little
Yeah.
over 200, or almost 200 kilometers. I don't know. My math is whack, but that's what I've been up to. Ride my new
That's a
mountain
long
bike,
road ride.
riding
Nice.
my Yeti SB140 around here, and just the trail's been a little overgrown. It's kind of tough. It's kind
Yeah,
of,
super overgrown.
you guys know how it is.
Yep.
Yep.
When
What about you guys?
When that bush gets too thick,
Oh god, I hate it when bushes are thick.
Yeah, trim it.
you gotta trim it up. I've been riding my new El Jefe.
Ooh.
I've been out in Reno for the last couple weeks, and so I've been riding the Sierras a bit. On the Rebel Ranger a good bit, but then also I did a big ride on the El Jefe, which, man, I love that bike.
Jefe's
Thanks,
Jefe.
Liam, for building such a nice bike for me.
That's a cool bike.
Turned out fantastic.
I hand welded the frame myself.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a titanium hardtail, but I got a rigid carbon fork on it. And man, it's just fast. Did a 56-mile ride, which it was like the perfect bike for that. It's like some rocky, gnarly single track where it was like way over its head, but just barely hanging on. Some gravel roads, some rough gravel roads, some smooth gravel roads, some street, some city. It was like the perfect bike for that. So it's really fun. I really enjoyed that.
Urban assault and somewhat non-urban assault vehicle.
Yeah, it's what's crazy is like when is starting in the town of Reno. I went a little to the east of town, which is in some shady areas along the river and the bike path. And it's a little apocalyptic, and then you start heading down. And you see some like tract homes, and then you cut up in the mountains, and there's literally wild horses and like beautiful mansions in the hills. And then you're on some like rugged ATV style trails, and you drop down, and there's like other mansions, little towns, hot springs, people who have like big farms, and then you pass by these like really nice developments, and then back into the city, and like you just see a lot. Like it's a very diverse area of cool city,
sounds cool.
mountains. Yeah, it was really fun. So
Sounds a lot more diverse than here.
kind of is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Bigger mix out there. What about you, Willis? What rides you been doing?
Well, last week I've been stuck to the road bike. Had a little accident and hurt the wrist.
Yep, little head-on collision. You can admit it. It's all right. It's a safe place. You can tell the people
There's a
about
safe
that.
space, yeah.
I just don't really want to broadcast that.
Well, you
I was,
maybe-
ni- I was-
nobody's
I was-
fault.
I was nice to the guy. Just
right?
like,
It's nobody's fault. Like that's
Yeah.
a common thing that happens. People run into each other on the trails every now and then. I've done it. You did it. Have you done it?
No, because in New Zealand, we don't really have shared use riding trails. It's all,
that's
this is a bike trail.
way more
This is a
intelligent.
hiking trail.
what about
yeah.
It's a two-way trail.
Two-way
is the
bike
problem.
trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, even then, most trails are, this is a
Directional.
climbing trail, this is a descending
That's
trail.
a
They're all
foreign
directional.
concept.
That would fix a lot of
A
problems,
lot
but
more logical than it
unfortunately,
is out here.
we don't. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just hit a dude. I went left. He went left, and I hit the ground, and he did not. So
Yeah.
I would imagine that happens often here.
yeah,
Probably
Right, probably.
does. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's happened to me twice.
Really?
Yeah. Well, once I hit a guy, another rider climbing on a mountain bike, and then another time I hit a dirt bike.
Whoa.
Yeah. That one was bad. Has it ever happened to you?
Had some really close calls. But no, not quite. No contact.
No contact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hurt your wrist a little bit, but you've been on the road bike?
Yeah. It was nice last weekend. I had Matt McCluskey from our East Coast location out
There you go.
and took him on some nice road rides. So,
Shout out one like Matt. Where'd you guys go? The canyons?
just, Santa Monica canyons and stuff. Just
Nice.
cruising around. So, yeah, it was nice. Ready to get back on the mountain bike, but probably another week or so. The wrist is pretty tender. Yeah.
Brutal.
Tender. Phil, what rides you been riding lately? What bikes you been riding?
I really haven't been riding that much. I think about 5 days before coming out here, I went out for a ride with my buddy Mike and Sam, and we just hit local trails in Rotorua. We're really lucky where we live because it doesn't really matter what time of year you ride. Even if it's been raining heavily, like the day before, you just know you're going to get, soil conditions are going to be generally pretty good, that volcanic soil. So we just went out for, I think it was like 3 hours. I've been driving a desk most of the time, so it's the first time I'd actually done any significant climbing for a while. So
Not on an e-bike, though? You were on a...
No, I'm on my Zero Taniwha. And yeah, it actually been the first time I've been out for a ride in a long time. So those guys really schooled me on, and it was only like a 300-meter climb, but super satisfying because immediately I think we dropped into about 4 or 5 different trails that you would have done when you came to New Zealand.
Sick.
Mix of flow. I'm a big fan of sort of steep, rooty tech, so we kind of hit that straight up.
Would you call them a secret loamer?
There was actually one secret Loma that we did. Yes.
Lomer.
Yes.
Loamer.
Rotorua is all about that.
Love it.
Yeah,
So sick.
Yeah, it's a good place to ride.
it really is.
Yeah, it's an amazing place to ride. It's
Wow.
actually not that hard to get there. I think most of my life I thought New Zealand was way more just far away and exotic and hard to get to. And then I was like, oh, actually, you can just fly direct from LA right to Auckland. I was like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, and it's an overnight flight.
Yeah.
So from LAX into Auckland, it's
Just like going from
12-hour
here to Europe.
flight. You go to sleep, you wake up, you're in Auckland, and
Wow.
you can either drive down to Rotorua or take a quick 30-minute flight and you're in Rotorua. It's easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. A buddy of mine who I used to be in business with runs cool mountain bike trips down there. Yeah.
Sick.
Well, I
New
know a
Zealand
guy
mountain biking.
that lives
Yeah.
down there. And
Yeah. Jamie, right? He's still running New Zealand mountain
Yep.
biking.
Yeah, so Jamie from New Zealand Mountain Biking runs amazing. He runs, I think one of the sort of most popular trips that he runs is like a 6-day sort of enduro-based tour. It's called the Hero Dirt, and it's 6 days of a little bit of climbing, but predominantly shuttle uplift, but concentrates a bit on Rotorua, some trails south of there. There's even a heli trip in there.
Wow.
So in 6 days, you get to take a bite out of the best dirt that New Zealand has and all the descending that you want to do.
Wow.
And he's a master. Yeah. He's really cool.
That
You
sounds
should check it
epic.
out.
Nice.
That sounds great.
Yeah, he's
Did
the
you
one
do
who.
a heli drop when you were
Yeah,
there?
we did.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
part of Phil's very storied career past, which is just scratching the surface of what I know, probably compared to who knows what else you've been doing over your career, selling hot dogs or something maybe.
Selling hot dogs on mountain biking tours.
No, I
Combo and two
say that
different
because I remember you telling me you used to run like hiking and rafting trips. Then you sold that business and you started up New Zealand mountain biking. You ran that with Jamie
Yep.
until COVID, and then obviously the tourism business and travel business got changed up quite a bit. Then you
Yeah.
sold your partnership to Jamie.
Yeah.
So we don't need to get in the weeds of all of it. But yeah, so you and Jamie built that whole trip out, the one that I did when I went there, right?
Yeah,
In
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the funnest trip ever. It was an amazing time. So
Super cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so when COVID came along, and I was actually in Italy when COVID came
Yeah.
along, and that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But and then I finally ended up coming back to New Zealand, and because we had no idea how long our borders were going to be closed, and it got to the point where I was like, "Hey, man, look, it's probably better if you kind of just take this thing, and while New Zealand's international borders were closed, like, because he runs incredible like mountain biking skills clinics, it's like, you just take it, man. You take it away from here, and then, you know, if the borders open up at some stage, then carry on doing it. So that was the best thing to do. And so when the borders opened up, he was like, boom, he took it away, and then I then went on and started another couple of tourism entities, including All Mountain Rides, which is my mountain biking tour company.
You went bougie and decided to go to Italy and do the Dolomites.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was, you know, that was a place where I lived leading up to COVID. So I was living there doing some work for a tour company out there. And then obviously, you know, I got to know the trails in that whole region like super well. And so when it looked like, you know, the world was quote unquote getting back to normal, I thought, actually, this, you know, I know this place really well. I've ridden everywhere here. It seems like the logical thing for me to do is to sort of, you know, put something together. And then we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the riding there is just
so cool.
World class.
It is unbelievable.
You did ski touring there, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I did a bunch of ski touring in the winter there. Like that sort of 2019, 2020 winter was a good snow year. And like in terms of ski touring, it's all about big couloirs. So did a bunch of that there.
So sick.
Scared myself.
I watch all of Marco's videos. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I went skiing with Marco a few times there, and yeah, that was an experience.
About the same as riding a bike behind him.
Yeah,
That sounds like fun.
yeah. Likewise, when you go riding with Marco, whew,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
he pushes the boat out. Big time,
I love it.
so to speak.
So sick.
Well, so you're going to do the Dolomites trip this September as well, right?
Yeah, so running another trip this September, September 2nd. Yeah, it goes out, and there's already quite a few people who are already signed up on the trip. There's a few spots left.
Nice.
So, yeah, if anyone wants to join, then I'm sure you guys will let people know.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put a
How to get in
link in
touch.
the
Put
show
link in the
notes.
description.
Link in the
and
show
stuff.
notes, J
Link
Money.
in the show notes.
Yeah,
Show notes.
that was such a fun trip.
That
I
was
mean,
such
I think I would compliment you on the 2 trips that I've done that you've arranged. All the little details are dialed in, and you've also got a really good mentality, which I think is really hard for tour operators when it comes to not everything goes as planned. Like, it's just the nature of the business.
Yeah.
Different skill levels, flat tires, like just different things happen, and you're very good and lighthearted at like, oh, we'll just call an audible, we'll pivot here, we'll do that. Like,
Yeah.
So props to that.
I do think adaptability is like there's a few key components, but adaptability on a trip like that is super key. Obviously, you know, you have to make sure as well you're getting the right people coming and join you on a trip like that. So a trip like that was an enduro based trip. So there's definitely a certain amount of vetting you want to do with people to make sure it's a fit. You know, if you're an XC rider, for example, it's not going to be the trip for you. And you don't want people who are like constantly going to feel out of your league. But, you know, on a trip like that, remember that first riding day that we had?
Yeah.
And we got to the end of that first riding day. A couple of people liked it. And I was like, hey, Jeff, what did you think? You're like, man, that sucked. You know, so like, you know, we listened to that.
Yeah.
I went and talked to Marco. I was like, kind of not everybody's cup of tea. We need to switch things up a bit here.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's when we were like, well, we've got all the knowledge on hand. We know how we can just adjust things on the fly to make sure that it's a fit, you know, for most people, if not everybody.
Yeah.
So adaptability is just so key, you know, and being just super upfront with people and going, how did you enjoy that? You liked it?
Yeah.
You thought it sucked? Okay. What can we do? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a long day on the bike.
That was a big day, but that was also a bit of a test piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Of that.
See how
Yeah,
everyone-
I think,
part of the
I think
magic.
that day 1 was half of our climbing we did over the 6 days of riding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest was
Yeah.
Yeah, we did like
lifts
3,500 feet of climbing that day, and then
Yeah.
we did 3,500 more feet for 6 more days.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was
That's
cooked at
fantastic.
the end of that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That was so fun, though.
You know, one thing that you did in New Zealand that I was hoping you would do in Italy was at the top of, well, maybe this was a Jamie thing more than you can tell me, but at the top of basically every big climb, Jamie would have those, what are those big chocolate bars that are made in New Zealand? Winston's or?
Whitaker's chocolate.
Whitaker's, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're huge. They're like, they're massive
I need to
chocolate
do that.
bars. And he would be at the top of every climb, and they had these, like, they're like little squares,
Little
right? And
bits.
so he would just like break you off a little square of chocolate, and when you got to the top of the climb, it was like you were a lab rat. It was like, good job.
Good
Like,
job.
good job. It was
Like a
so
dog,
funny.
like a lab.
Right.
Yeah, but
Great job,
it
buddy.
was like, it was amazing. It's like you're in New Zealand, you get this authentic New Zealand made chocolate,
Yes.
and his like Kiwi
Yeah.
Jamie like gives you a little piece of it at the top of every climb. Like,
Well,
that really makes you actually want to climb more. And you're like climbing, you're like, I'm gonna get that damn chocolate from
The,
Jamie.
the, flip, the,
It was
flip,
a great touch,
the
man.
flip side, we got espresso 3 times throughout the day.
Yeah,
on every
that's true.
ride in
That's
Italy,
true.
right?
Yes.
Italy is like,
That's
oh, you're
true.
just gonna stop at this refugio and have some pizza and
Yeah.
an espresso, and then do that again in another hour.
In the
and a half.
village,
Yeah,
and the
That's
next
right. It's
refugio,
different,
and
yeah.
the next village. So gelato and espresso.
The affogato.
Affogato. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh. Take me back.
I loved everything about Italy except for one thing.
How they don't slice the pizza.
Don't slice the pizza. It makes no sense at all. It's extremely frustrating.
I'm not a
But
fan of
that's
European.
where pizza comes from. Like, I don't think they ever did that, right? They never sliced it.
Eh.
Adapt to the new times.
Improvise,
It's like
adapt,
not
overcome.
using modern technology. You know
Yeah.
that thing with that's got a wheel and a
The
slight
roller
little
thing.
roller. Yeah.
Yeah.
At
Damn.
least, hear me out, Italy. At least put
Just listening.
at least put the slicer on the table. I'm okay
Yeah.
with slicing
Yeah,
my
yeah,
own
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But
Someone
don't
the option.
don't give me a
hard.
knife to cut my pizza, bro.
Admittedly,
Like,
it's tough with a butter knife, right?
yeah.
You know?
So give me the slicer on the table. I'll slice my own pizza.
Yeah.
If you like have this thing against slicing pizza, Italy, but like,
Do you hear that, Italy?
Yeah.
Do you hear?
are you listening?
Do you hear? Well, speaking of trips, is this a good time to say that Liam and Trevor are going to Mexico City
Yeah, it is.
in
So,
August.
So we were just telling Phil pre-pod that last year when we were on a Chasing Epic trip, a few of the guys from Mexico City, they decided, well, one of them, Andres, decided to fire up his own trip in Mexico City that you and Trevor are going on in August, right? What's the gist of the trip, Liam?
August 14th through the 18th, we're going to Mexico City to enjoy the riding outside of Mexico City, which is, I think the city itself sits at just around 6,000 feet, and the riding is up like 7,000 feet in actually like forests. So if you can picture that, it's forests in Mexico. Pretty awesome riding. Everything from man-made trails, jumps, drops, to some pretty rough, rocky stuff.
Looks sick.
Yeah, Yeti
really
did
does look
good.
a
It does.
Yeti did a tribe gathering there last year, I believe.
Oh, cool.
And we're riding some of those same trails.
Wow.
And yeah, Trevor and I will be going down there with a handful of other people. And we also get to experience Mexico City, have dinner in the city. We're staying, I guess, in a really cool part of the city.
Nice.
A new kind of more hip happening spot. So
Is this the inaugural trip?
it is the inaugural trip.
Yeah.
Radical.
And it says on the website there are 3 spots left.
Oh,
So
wow.
Okay.
Sick.
Yeah.
There you go.
Inaugural trip, which is very affordably priced and may not be
it is, yeah.
past the inaugural
Exactly,
trip.
yeah. It's $2,000, $1,999. So
It's
you know,
super easy to
for
get
a
to Mexico
5-day
City from the
trip.
States.
Yeah, 5-day trip. You know, I think once you don't hold me 100% to this, but I believe once you show up, everything's covered to, you know, going back to the airport. So
All inclusive.
all inclusive.
Nice.
It says right here, all inclusive. So
So Phil, what tips do you have? You've been running various types of trips for your whole life. So what tips do you got?
well, it sounds like first one,
Adaptability.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, adaptability aside, I think knowing who you're pitching this to as well, like I talked about it earlier, you know, that sounds like a descending focused trip. So making that clear that this is a descending focused trip and what types of trails, you know, you're going to be riding. And even if that means drilling down a little bit in the itinerary, because that's going to make a certain amount of people self-select and go, no, not for me. And while it's great to get lots of bookings on mountain biking tours as a tour operator. That's awesome. But it is an absolute nightmare. Like, and we learned this the hard way with New Zealand mountain biking. In New Zealand, the first couple of trips we ran, we're like, great, lots of bookings on this trip. And you've got 8 riders who can all look after themselves, descending focus. And you got, one person over here who's just like, whew, like, I can't do this.
Way in over their head.
Way in over their head. And that just doesn't have an effect on that person. That has an effect on the other 8 people on that trip, because you don't want people waiting around. Has an effect on your guides, and ultimately you're going to have one person who's going to walk away and feel like that wasn't a fit for me. Yeah. So identifying, what this is and who this is for, that's the first part. You cover that off first, then that's cool. Not having to move around a lot either. I think you guys might have noticed, like in the Dolomites, well, we stayed in one central place. Mm-hmm. So not having to pack up your bikes and like transport to the next place. I've always found that really helps. Having a central hub, because that's where everyone comes together at the end of the day, tells lies about the lines that they rode, all that stuff.
I have that double so big.
Yeah, if you're having to move on from place to place, it's a bit of a pain. And, packing up bikes, all that sort of stuff. You want to kind of just, lay it all out once you arrive. Making sure people are really well fed as well,
For sure.
The other thing I would say is, it's going to sound a bit funny, but the riding side of it, if you've got the right people, the riding and the trails side of it and the scenery and all that stuff speaks for itself. That delivers for you. The stuff that really matters is how you engage with people before their trip. Making sure people feel really well looked after. Like if that means like making sure people know about the best flights to take, if they're arriving a couple of days earlier, giving them some tips on what they can do beforehand, what they might be able to do afterwards, all of that sort of stuff, and making sure that people just don't feel dropped in between the time they book their trip and pay you a deposit and when they arrive and turn up. That sort of stuff means that you've got a relationship and, they know who they're dealing with and you know who you're dealing with before they turn up and you shake hands with them at the airport. That stuff really matters. And so it's really all that peripheral stuff around the riding itself. That's the stuff that matters because the riding just delivers itself.
Yeah.
So you can extrapolate out from that, whatever it is that you need.
Better send Andres this podcast so he gets the tips.
There you go. Well, I remember one thing we did before the Italy trip was like that Zoom call, right? And everybody kind of met each other before the trip and we kind of hashed out some of the details and stuff. And just like, that kind of thing is nice, right? Especially if it's your first like mountain bike trip experience. Yeah. You're going a long ways and there's a lot of unknowns, right? Just to like have some more certainty of the whole situation and like the experience is nice to have.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and you'll be back and forth via email with somebody, like even if you're on the phone 1 or 2 times. But, email and phone are actually very narrow communication channels. Mm-hmm. But when you get somebody on a screen, they can see the expression on your face. Right. You can share so much more communication cues like with people when you're online. It means so much. So I booked a bunch of people on this trip about a month and a half ago, and I'm so in the next few weeks, I'm going to reach out and go, hey, let's all connect via Google Meet or WhatsApp, like a group, and then we can probably talk about the trip. So that's the stuff that matters. Yeah. Like the riding will do its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People always have fun riding in great areas.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is the easy part.
That's where you're going, right?
The magic from Phil. Good stuff.
Cool.
Well, now what we need to do is magically put some more
that's
non-alcoholic booze and then put booze on top of them.
That's right. That sounds good.
And we have a new sponsor this week.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
A new ad, a new sponsor for the podcast. Wow. Foreign one, I heard.
Foreign products.
Not from here.
Are breaking into our mountain bike podcast.
Wow.
Foreign products.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Has your deck been neglected? Has your deck been left out in the sun for too long and experienced significant damage? Uncle Wiener's cut price deck polish provides significant deck protection against deck wear and tear. Just one coat to rub on once and your deck will have shine, grip and color all at the same time. Let Uncle Wiener polish your deck today.
And now, back to the show. And we're back. So, we've got a question here. Recently, all the great sponsors disappeared. Did those sponsors stop sponsoring the show, or did you guys just get boring? How about that? How about that sponsor? What was the brand again?
Uncle Wiener's deck polish?
Yeah, legitimate sponsor. From
A lot of legitimate sponsors.
Yeah, we have a lot of legitimate sponsors. We just we took a little break. And the next question.
Read the first listener question. Well, I guess that was the first one. Read the second one.
This is a doozy.
Yeah, it is a little bit. G'day, boys from Australia. Big fan of the podcast. Emoji from Jonathan's and Steven days. I've enjoyed both versions a lot, and I'm loving the WWC format, especially now that you finally dropped Jeff. It's fun, informative, and the only podcast where you satisfy my nerdy tech fetish. Oof. Anyway, to the point, I'm replacing in my 2022 Yeti Arc and need your sagely advice on which bike to buy. Do I get an SB120, which seems to be the dual suspension version of the Arc, or am I better off with the ASR, or even an SB115? My garage currently has an unbuilt Skylar Sweet Spot hardtail that I'm keen to build, this Yeti Arc, and a specialized stump jumper Evo. Lastly, there's a dark horse riding into the background. Do I simply buy an SL e-bike, like the Heckler SL or Orbea Rise, and have the best of many worlds, but no street cred or even self-respect? Wow.
Well,
what do you think, Phil? What should he get? Do you think he should get an e-bike, or should he get a little Yeti SB120 Trail Ripper?
I think he maybe needs to learn the art of concision.
What would you do?
What would Phil do?
I'm biased.
Yeah, we're all biased.
As you know, I'm biased
go
about
unbiased.
the bikes that I like.
Go unbiased for the podcast, Phil.
I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no rules here. Not many.
Right. Hey, what I would look at a zeroed.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey.
That was completely unbiased.
That was what are they? It's
the only New Zealand bike brand that Phil happens to work for part-time.
Phil,
Yes,
what is your other job besides?
My disclosure statement is
you go.
So I am also the marketing manager for Zeroed Bikes.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I
Hence the
did
bias
I did
disclaimer.
communicate my bias before.
You did.
Before stating that.
And we're, like I said, we're all biased. That's what we're here for, to bring our opinion and our bias. Mm-hmm. If we're all unbiased, then we wouldn't get any.
I just want to answer it.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would do an ASR.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He has the Sklar or Skylar.
Yeah.
I don't actually know which one it is. I thought it was Skylar because I know the brand he's talking about. They're really cool sweeping hardtails. I don't know how it's pronounced. But you have the hardtail, which kind of satisfies that hardtail need, even though it's kind of like almost like a trail hardtail.
Yeah.
But the ASR is that dual suspension, fast, efficient bike, and then he has a stump jumper Evo for
true.
the trails and the enduro.
He does have the stump
kinda
jumper
have
Evo. That's like the whole wrench in the plan.
He has a trilogy. You know, you got the light full suspension, the beefy full suspension, and then the really cool sentimental with soul hardtail.
Yeah, it's a good quiver. Liam, originally I was going to say get an SB120 because I think that's a great bike, kind of all-around trail ripper, but I forgot about the stump jumper Evo.
They get really close.
And that is pretty close. So, I mean, with that said, I guess I would probably go ASR for that reason, to have that kind of XC ripper. And then you kind of have that in between the stump jumper and then the hardtail.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you just said.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, you're welcome. Jeff?
He has no dog in this fight.
No comment.
Clearly, the guy doesn't want me to answer either. He just says, especially not great that you've dropped Jeff.
Oh, Jeff got his feelings
Jeff is
hurt.
butt hurt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fly to Australia and find this gentleman.
That's right.
Oh.
Well, I've got his information.
He has said good day from Australia to throw you off. He's actually in Austria.
Let's put another shrimp on the bobby. Wow. Do you want to even answer this guy's question? All right.
I agree with what Liam said.
Okay.
Yeah. I always say
Wow.
it makes sense to have somewhat of like decent differentiation between all your bikes.
Absolutely.
Like you don't want any that are too close to each other.
Because you didn't put a suspension fork on your old Hefe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Hardtail, ASR, stump jumper.
Because
like,
with
you
some
go.
of those
logical
bikes,
trifecta.
you can swap tires and like you're really blurring lines, once
Yeah,
you do
totally.
a tire swap. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Well, I guess we'll do the next question. Hey guys, love the podcast. Have been listening daily since I found it and can't get enough. Not only do I learn a ton from each episode, but I love listening to Jared's sexy olive oil voice. Wow, smiley face. 2 questions today. 1, I currently have a trail bike with an integrated stem/bar combo. It's super light, but frankly, looks dumb. What bars and stems would you recommend for maximum cool factor/steez? And 2, I am a single MTB gal looking for an MTB boyfriend. What pickup lines and or icebreakers can I use to meet a cute guy on the trail? Thanks.
Well, number 2 is easy. I don't know her name, but hi, I'm Susie.
You could always point out like
That's pretty
there's
much all you
a.
have to say.
You could always point out something like, "Oh my god, is that a puncture in your tire?" Or like, "Oh my
Or
gosh, it
just-
looks like you lost a bolt or something."
You're
And then-
you're going too far, man. Hey,
That's true.
you have a really cool Yeti SP140. My name's Susie.
You could say, "Hey, I like
That
your
sounds
shape."
about right.
Yeah.
That's all you need to say.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or hey, what trail did you just ride? Where are you
Yes.
headed?
Yes.
How much travels on that dropper post?
Is that the new 240 one up? Or
Oh, wow, that's a long dropper post.
That's a long travel. Honestly, any question about where you're going, where you're headed, where you've been, what you're doing.
That's a cool bike.
Yeah.
What,
Is
Yeah,
that
I
the
think
new,
anything related to
or,
that.
or
right?
yeah.
are those the new kettle shorts?
There you go.
Do you- and question number 1.
Question number 1. You can just stick to that one.
I'm not biased at
Speaking
all,
of being biased,
but Trail and components would look super steezy on your bike.
That would be pretty steezy, especially with the new cool logos we got going on here. Is that only on the carbon
all
bar? you
sorts
said,
of
Liam?
different colors
Correct.
and decal kits.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the one with like the outline logo.
Yep.
Oh yeah, new outline logo.
Quite fond of that.
That looks really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. All right.
Yeah.
And then maybe with either the polished stem or do we still have the black and polished?
Yep, sure
Stems?
do.
Yep.
All of this on display on the MTB Podcast YouTube channel if you want to watch us.
Wow.
Or you can
And-
just look at some links in the description.
We have a new top cap kit to
That's
finish
true.
it off. Just went live on the site today.
Ooh, boy.
Black, polished, and bronze
Wow.
will also look super steezy. But in all honesty, depending on what length your stem is and what rise your handlebar is on the bar stem combo, it should list it on the site. Is that a perfect fit for you, or are you wanting to change that a little bit? Because that will steer your decisions a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, inquire a little bit more about that and then find what brand makes that length and rise that fits your needs. If it happens to be Trail One, awesome. If not, if you want longer stem or, higher rise bar than we make, let us know. And,
Yeah,
But-
and also it'll
but
allow
there's
her
options
to
out there.
change up the setup a little bit, right? Instead of being like pigeonholed into just like everything is one piece. This is like
Yeah.
the rise and the
Exactly.
length that you're going for.
Yep.
So yeah, I could play around with that a little bit, and thanks for the compliment for my olive oil voice.
Jared's like just pageless. On these?
Also, depending on her location, she could just email Trevor at worldwidecyclery.com and ask to go on a date with him.
Wow.
Trevor single?
Wow.
Single, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I think he is.
Email me anyways.
Or Liam at worldwidecyclery.com. And next question. Let's see here. Liam, do you want to read that one?
Love the podcast. I have a common style Clash and would like some higher engagement hubs, but I don't want to spend too much money on them. Any high engagement, less expensive options out there? Also, will there be any Kettle Mountain youth gear?
Oh, that's a good question too. Isn't Hope a little bit pretty decently priced? The Hope Pro 5 hubs?
I don't know if they're decently priced or
And
not.
high engagement
see.
and low cost just doesn't.
Yeah,
Typically,
Oxymoron,
off the top of
unfortunately.
my head, it
Let's
would
see
be
here.
the i9 1-to-1 hubs.
That's true.
Yeah.
Those will probably be the least expensive and most engagement. But that being said, if you're going to lace in a hub, you start adding up price of spokes and labor to lace it and all these things that then become not so affordable.
That's true.
But getting a wheel set with that 1-to-1 hub, like i9 makes them, or
true.
Don't the Reserve alloy wheels, do they come with 1-to-1s or no? You'd probably know.
I think you can get those, but
they come with 350s.
They typically will come with the DTs.
But you could get a 54-tooth upgrade kit. That might be higher engagement than what you have. And I think 54-tooth is a good happy medium of engagement to feeling. It's fast enough. It's not super fast, but it's fast enough that I don't miss anything when I ride 54-tooth. I actually like the balance of it.
Well, I can tell you right now on the website, the 1-to-1 hub is a little over $300.
Okay.
Hope Pro 5, $280.
Okay. What's the engagement about?
I want to say the Hope is like around 100 points of engagement.
Okay. It's about the same.
And they also usually sound pretty cool too. I don't know if you guys heard Hope hubs lately, but
they do sound good.
They do sound pretty good.
I just think if cost is a concern, custom building a wheel set's not the way to go. It's true. A pre-built wheel set, which there's a lot of good ones these days. It's a lot more financially feasible to buy a pre-built wheel set and get a good product that way.
108 points of engagement on the Hope hubs. It's pretty good.
What?
But yeah, you're right. You're pretty much just better off buying a whole new wheel set and just getting fresh and all new and dialed in.
Unless you really want colored hubs.
That's true.
That too.
That is true. If you want color, you kind of have to build that custom wheel set.
And Hope would be the most affordable colored hub.
It would. Well, Phil, do you want to read this one?
I do most of my riding solo on local trails and other trail centers around my state, which is Texas. Lately, I have been thinking about what I carry on my longer solo rides where I rarely encounter other people. Not just for bike needs, but in the event of a crash for personal safety, what are some suggestions for an inclusive trauma kit that one could carry in the event of such an event? Well, I think the first thing you need to think about, like even before that, is what you're going to do to communicate. If you're riding alone, if it's relatively backcountry or even a bit of side country, if you're hurt to a certain degree, you're going to need to communicate with somebody. So comms is the first port of call, and then you start thinking about what to bring in a kit.
Well, kits, I would say adventure medical kits.
Yes.
That's the way to go. They've kind of already solved all those problems.
Pretty much.
Super good, really dialed in kits, all varying different sizes for how much you want to carry and how extensive you want all of the stuff inside to be.
That's true. I've seen those like REI, right? They have like certain number of people.
It's like super well thought out.
Certain number of days. Like this will cover multiple people on multiple day trip.
Yeah, I always take that with me on rides. Yeah.
Oh. So for your raw dogging self, huh?
Well, not like little local 10-mile rippers. I don't even take a multi-tool half the time.
That's what I'm saying. You surprised me.
But I like proper rides and adventure races or like any like big long things. I always take that.
That's good to have. Yeah.
Anytime I have a pack, I have one of those adventure medical kits in there. Nice. One of the smaller ones. They make it. That's the thing. They make so many different sizes depending on how serious you want to have. But also, comms, like you said, Garmin InReach. That's an amazing SOS device.
For sure.
You can also, even on a Garmin watch, I guess Apple watches, you can kind of do that SOS feature too. If like it senses a crash, it'll call your emergency contacts. Obviously, with Apple, you need service.
Yeah.
Whereas with Garmin, it'll go through satellite, so you don't have to have service.
Yeah. So. Does your phone use a little bit of satellite if you need to make an emergency call?
Yeah, iPhone, I think it's 14. Right, 14 and 15 will have that like satellite connectivity now that you could do an SOS call on if you have no service. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting when things like Starlink come into play as well, which is going to help with direct two-way comms because different emergency communication systems have come with their own caveats. A Garmin InReach requires, that someone is actually going to read your message, for example.
Well, Garmin already figured that all out.
They have.
Yeah, so like you can subscribe to the Garmin InReach thing and like you can contact their SOS services 24/7, 365 in like almost every country on the planet. Covers like almost the entirety of the planet. That's like the best global, like if you're a real true hardcore outdoor adventurer, like that's the way to go, hands down.
Yeah, I think so. I think the irony though is if you're riding on your own,
if you're solo, it's on your own, doesn't matter.
You can have like the best medical kit in the world, and you can put a SAM splint on yourself and go, great, this is cool. I think I might be fixed. You still got to get out of there.
True, very true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, or if you knock yourself out, it's kind of
you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation where you needed to deploy such things on a trip?
Yes. Yeah, it was actually the last time I had to do it was actually on a kayaking trip. Ironically, it was on a river, like a Class 5 river, kind of close to where we live, down in a gorge where all of a sudden, you enter this gorge and there's no comms. And a friend of ours who was paddling with us took a swim on a really steep rapid, came over the bottom drop on a rapid, which was pretty manky, kind of shallow, and like blew out his entire knee.
Wow.
Like his patella was like smashed into bits, and you could kind of see the whole thing had kind of moved up his leg. And so, we, after, doing all the sort of safety and rescue stuff, then it was like immediately bang, EPIRB, like straight. Like that's, the system that we had then was a one-way communication system, which was we're in trouble, send help, and helicopter came straight in.
Wow.
Yeah. So that helped a lot.
I can't imagine how hard it would be to get out of something like that in that state. I mean,
yeah. We were fortunate in that we were able to get him to a place, get him up out of the river, patch him up to the extent that we could.
Right.
And then, we knew that, help was on the way because we had the comms.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the last time. It was probably 2 years ago.
Wow. It is important to be prepared. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, I guess we could go to the next question. What do you guys think about that? In my experience, I found trail ratings to be a little inconsistent, but it does seem like they follow one of two trains of thought, either off the ability to hit the hardest features, or they are based off the easiest route down. I've ridden blacks that ride like a blue if you take the easiest route down, and blue trails with black side hits / optional features. How do you feel trails should be rated? That's a hard one.
Wow.
I mean, you guys have a different rating system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way. They do it the same way in New Zealand as Australia, right?
We do from like grade 1 to grade 5.
Yeah.
Actually, and like it's pushed out to 6 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's a cool way.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a difference between like a California black and a Whistler or Squamish black for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should be rated on the mandatory feature.
Yeah, agreed.
Is there a gap? Yeah. You cannot get around it. There's no beeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that should be.
Yeah,
I think so. If there's a crux feature, then you rate it off that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right off the top, there's a what you call a squirrel catcher, right? A hard feature with a gap to make sure you have the skill level to get down the rest of the trail. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's tough though, right? Because like some things are like super subjective, I guess, right? I mean,
yeah, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
Where you get a bunch of guys who are like, yeah, this is easy.
But you're not going to rate a trail that has a bunch of, say, like gap jumps and, black diamond level terrain. You're not going to rate it as a blue just because you can go around all of those.
Right.
Absolutely. The main features you're supposed to hit, that's how the trail should be rated.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be rated based off of the go around ability.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree with that too.
Agreed.
Yeah. I don't know. That is a challenge. It is totally confusing and not consistent. And it's different at every bike park.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And a jump black's different than a tech black as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable on a jump black than I am on a tech black.
Yeah.
So
I think Whistler has it done the best of anywhere I've ever seen. They even like break it down into flow or tech or tech flow.
Yeah,
and
that makes
sense.
Like
a rating system per one, so if like something is a black because it's flow and has like big black diamond level jumps, or if it's like black and there's not really any jumps and it's tech. And like some people are confident going down really technical black diamond level trails. They're just not that same person might not be comfortable jumping.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, I think it will forever be controversial as well, especially when ego is brought into it. Where you're like, oh, that's not a black trail, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember
a solid blue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, our friend Nico, who when he was like originally designing and building all the downhill trails at Windrock Mountain Bike Park, and I went going there and riding there, and I was like, dude, everything seems rated. Like it's way harder than it's rated. And he's like, yeah, I did that on purpose. And I was like, why? I was like, don't you think people are going to come here and crash and wreck themselves? And he's like, oh yeah, totally. But that's the point. He literally said that. And I mean, he's an elite level World Cup racer, and his mentality was, I want the trails to be extremely hard for how they're rated, so people come here and refine their skills and get better at riding mountain bikes when they come to this bike park. And I was like, that's a really like cool, optimistic mentality, Nico.
Very
like,
optimistic.
it sounds like something like you, who's like, I'm going to work on my skills and be a pro racer, would develop. Not like the general mountain biker who'd be like, yeah, I went to Windrock and I rode a blue trail and crashed 9 times because it was like a double black. You know? So,
And what was it? I think at Ride Canuga, I rode one of the trails off the back. I don't remember if it was a black or double black. It was probably a double black. And it had some big, like, right off the top, it was a pretty good, I don't know, wasn't all that big, maybe 4-foot drop, but it was so slow and aggressive that it was just like the harshest head slap ever, even though it's only like 4 feet, right?
Yeah.
And then you keep going down, you're flowing a bit, and then all of a sudden, boom, 20-foot road gap, like out of nowhere. And you're just like, oh, yeah.
I guess with double black, you expect that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Single black, maybe not.
Yeah,
Like,
but yeah, double black, it
20-foot
was
road
like,
gap.
20-foot legit road gap.
Yeah.
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 There's no perfect solution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Double
it's a
black is
challenge.
almost like, F around and find out, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
All
exactly
right.
what that is.
Wow, Jeff, we got 2 questions for you right here. For Wait Weenie Jeff, if you were going to participate in a charity race for NICA and they will provide you the race kit to wear, if the kit for both men and women were almost identical, however, the women's kit for one reason or another was 6 grams lighter than the men's, are you going to choose the women's kit to save 6 grams?
You'd look good in it.
I've never been a weight weenie with like my gear per se. Like I've never worn spandex.
Well,
and like,
Never seen it. Oh,
I want to say like you wore spandex, but you are weight when you with your gear.
well,
And
you
eating-
are a lightweight guy.
Your
yeah, I'm a
EDC,
lightweight guy.
Your
I mean all the things for sure. I
Yes.
care about the weight, but yeah, not to the extent where like I'm not gonna sacrifice. Like I'm not gonna wear spandex just because it's lighter. I'm not gonna run pedals that don't work or tires that don't work good just because they're lighter. So I have my limits.
He does have his limits.
Yeah.
I
that's
have
true.
my limits.
Admittedly.
yeah.
Has the adventure racing thing like impacted on your perception of weight in mountain biking? Because you need like things
Yeah.
light with adventure racing, right?
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I mean, I think that's just mostly changed. Like, I don't know, adventure racing. It's such a mess because you're just like trying to survive, and you have
Yeah.
have all this stuff
Yeah.
on your back, and it's a total disaster.
It's
of
like- It's more
I
like
don't know.
overall system weight, right? Versus just like the bike weight or something. It's like,
so different there. Yeah,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's like even if you're all dialed in and your bike's set up and your kit's perfect, it's like, wow, you just mess up one navigation piece and like it's over.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy sport for sure.
You need to be durable too, right? I mean, you got to
Yeah.
count on your equipment, like,
Yeah, that's true.
You don't wanna be
you really have to
backcountry
make sure stuff's durable.
and like
Yeah.
worry about flatting a super lightweight tire.
Yeah,
you don't want to
exactly.
have to worry about that.
Yep.
Well, Liam, do you want to read the next one?
yep. Love. All right. Yeah. Love the podcast, and I love shopping at Worldwide Things. I'm wondering how Jeff is liking his Titan, his Banshee Titan, and specifically how it compares to his old Revel, which was a Rascal. Does the KS2 suspension, which is what Banshee uses on their bikes, climb as well as CBF, Switch Infinity, or DW Link?
It's a good question.
Oh, that is a tough question.
It pedals remarkably well.
It
The Banshee I rode.
Yeah, that Banshee is like very, very impressive. Like how well it works and how well that bike handles climbing and descending. I just don't have enough. Like it's not, that bike isn't comparable to
the
a
Rascal.
Rascal. It'd
Yeah.
be comparable to a Rail 2.9, which I
Yeah.
haven't spent enough time on and as enough time on recently of like riding that, then right into that Titan. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah.
You need more back to back.
I need more back to back with the exact comparable like Revel or Switch Infinity.
Yeah.
Or
Is that
DW
the
Link.
bike you had in Italy last
Yeah.
year?
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah, that thing's rad. Yeah, that bike works super good. I'd definitely enjoy that thing.
From what I've felt, I do think actually the KS2 design is very close to CBF.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's closer to CBF than Switch Infinity or DW. Like DW and Switch Infinity both seem a little stiffer off the top, where the KS2 and the CBF feels pretty plush, but also supportive and not very bobby. Mm-hmm. So, but again, I don't have like a straight back-to-back either. I just have ridden both.
I would say that, I mean, all these platforms mentioned, so like the KS2 on the Banshee, the CBF, the Switch Infinity, the DW Link, like comparing all of those enduro bikes, like you're really splitting hairs. Like all those suspension platforms work really good.
They're the best,
so
basically.
They're like class leading suspension platforms for enduro mountain bikes. So they're all so good.
Yep.
So it's a bit of splitting hairs at that point, but yeah.
It's true, but it's good. I mean, at least as good as the others.
Yeah,
comparable.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Like one's pro might have, the other slight con, but we're talking 5%, 10% one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sick. Phil, do you want to read this next question?
All right. I want to buy another bike.
Oh.
I am an aging BMXer that is 6 foot and 200 pounds. I have been leaning towards a 27.5 hardtail like the Salsa Timberjack. What I'm wanting from is it's something I can mess around on a pump track and skate park and crush some miles on the greenway or gravel roads and do some urban rides with stair sets, hucks to flat, and other shenanigans. Oh my God.
He wants it all.
Thoughts, considerations, recommendations? Good Lord. I mean, I don't know. Where do you start?
It sounds like it sounds like you picked a good bike for it.
Honestly, the Salsa Timberjack and just make sure you put the appropriate wheels on it. It probably is the right bike.
Right.
What this guy's looking for. Yeah.
I mean, I want to go ride the pump track and, miles.
Well, that's a lot of things, right?
A frame up build of something that might just be more like a boutique-y, but basically same thing would be a Banshee hardtail.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Paradox?
A Paradox. Or there's two of them. There's a Paradox and Ignite.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would be more boutique and bougie.
Yeah, but very similar.
Higher price point, though. But,
Enigma.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Or
the Enigma is the Paradox's playful sibling.
27.5?
I think it's 27.5.
Whoa.
So, the Enigma might be your little more bougie option. You'll have to do a frame up build. But
it sounds. I mean, those Banshee hardtails are so cool.
Yeah,
and they're actually not like insanely expensive at all.
$1,000 for a frame.
Yeah, that's insane for a frame.
Yeah, really cool alloy hydroform. So,
couple good options right there.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Wow. Makes me want to just build one thinking about it.
I know, it kind of does.
I know. It actually sounds like a super fun, cool bike.
It really, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Right? Looks really cool.
And just hanging out with this guy and riding with him sounds fun. Like crushing hucks to flat and just ripping stair sets and hitting the pump track and the greenway.
I always want to huck to flat.
Yeah.
Always huck to flat. Sounds like what I was doing in college, riding around campus and stuff. It's a good time.
A fun time.
I love jumping off stairs.
Good way to have fun on a bike.
Urban riding is cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I guess that wraps this one up, eh?
That's it. That's all. Phil, if that was pretty good, man. We jinxed twice today.
Yeah. Wow, we're really
on the same wavelength.
Pound it.
Whoa.
Phil, fantastic work on not saying any bad words. Oh my goodness. Sorry.
Whoa, Jeff.
You said mute everything.
You said
before
mute.
I did say mute everything.
Oh,
I can't even stop the sound now.
Jeff broke his own rule.
That was the alarm of the camera's going to die or something. So yeah. If anyone would like to reach out to Phil, All Mountain Rides website, we'll put it in the show notes. Any other plugs for yourself?
Oh, you've put me on the spot now. No, yeah. Go to allmountainrides.com and check out our Dolomites trip. There's still a couple of spots left. It's going out in early September this year. When you get in contact, you'll hear directly from me. If you want to find out anything, then I'll get straight back to you. Yeah.
What a guy.
It is, it is my favorite place to ride in the world. It's unbelievable.
And he lives in New Zealand.
I live in New Zealand and spend
pretty
kind of a third of my time there. Yeah.
Epic. Thank you for joining us, Phil.
Yep.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Phil.
It's really good to see you all again.
Yeah, you too.
It's really cool.
Likewise.
Epic.
Thank you all very much, listeners. Please rate us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. It really helps us out.
Really helps us out. We need
Like and subscribe, all that bullshit.
Like,
Send
subscribe.
it to
Smash that
podcast.
subscribe button.
podcast at worldwidecyclery.com.
That's right.
I remembered it.
Podcast at worldwidesoccer.com. And we'll send you a gift card.
Great. See you later.
Great. See you later. Bye.
Love ya.